Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. Together, we're sharing ideas that will help families grow stronger, healthier families that are both inside
and outside the box. If you like the show, be sure to follow Christina on Facebook.
And please leave us a like and a review and a comment in your favorite podcast platform.
Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Ruth Wishengrad. She is the founder of UpBeats Media and the creator of Self-Talk Songs program. Ruth is on a mission to build a world of confident kids so that every kid and inner kid feels worthy, valued, and loved. She has a master's of education and has been teaching, training, and mentoring individuals for over 30 years. Ruth travels the world speaking at conferences and events on topics ranging from social and emotional growth to neuroscience techniques to reduce stress and anxiety. She has developed and created several programs that incorporate neuroscience methods using music and movement. It was an honor for her to present at the International Creative Art Therapy Conferences in both Beijing and Hong Kong, where she guided educators and occupational therapists on the benefits of using these techniques with those of autism or with those with autism. Now, Ruth trains educators and coaches to teach self-confidence and growth mindset to uplift, uplevel, and transform kids' lives. Thank you for being here. That is a beautiful bio and just wow, we are so grateful to have you on our show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to talk with both of you and your audience.
Awesome. So yeah, I can't, amazingly, we both have a similar path, me 27 years in teaching in the classroom, you also in education, and just that whole connection with the kids and what helps make our kids successful and confident, right? But right before we get to that, what was your big catalyst? Why down this path? There are so many, areas of education. There's the math, there's the reading, there's the science, there's everything. Why the confidence and why the emotion kind of vein that you really wanted to get into?
Yeah, good question. Well, I was a kid who was picked on, teased, and felt really alone and had very low self-esteem. And it actually went, and as I grew up, I started getting chronic pain. I was depressed, and I didn't understand that the one kind of connected with the other, right? And I also became my own self-bully because that's what I grew up being bullied. So that was the voice that I thought that's the voice you're supposed to hear because that's the only voice that I really did hear, And so I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I think, that's what I feel caused the depression and caused the chronic pain. And it's that also that saying of, you if it's not one thing, it's another. And I was like, I didn't realize it was like I was almost calling it in. It was like, okay, when this pain is done, we got to have another one to fill in the spot. And I didn't understand that. And, it got, things were really rough. And, my passion is I don't want kids to ever have to go through that. And so when I started learning and unlocking those ways that even as an adult for myself and years of this, and start unlocking that, and I realized, oh, there is a way, and kids, we don't have to be that way for our kids or our inner kids, even at this age, because it took me a while to figure out, how to unlock it. And for me, music and movement were the keys, amongst others. I have a 5-step program, but that really was my catalyst.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, whenever you're trying to unpack all of those things from the past, like you were saying, it's like, why make it so that we have to unpack it later? Let's do it up front, right? Part of education is the same thing. We're trying to help parents. And one of the reasons we love having experts like you come on is like, let's build up these kiddos at the beginning so they don't have to unpack it and fix it later. Let's keep it from happening or fix it sooner, right? So they don't have to. And the other I really, really love about this is music and movement, because we know, especially for our youngers or those who are kind of on their own drummer beat, right? Sometimes music and movement really connects with them. So when you get those songs, when you get those movements, when you get those actions, it all connects together.
Well, it's a universal language, right? Even if you don't speak even if it's not English, you can hear a beat, you can move, and there's no there's no translating needed, right? So it's a universal language, and that's where it kind of connects to the soul.
Exactly. So whenever we're working with our kiddos, I mean, you have the program. You said that's mostly that you taught to other educators and therapists and things like that. And where we're with Vibrant Family Education, we're trying to bring some of this stuff home. Is it possible for this to work for families as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm actually a very big advocate for, a lot of people say, oh, would be great for the schools. Well, yes, it's great for the schools, and it's also great for the homes, homeschoolers, and whatnot, because the whole point is for it to become a common language. So, just to give you kind of a little example is the songs that kind of came through me were songs around empowerment, around confidence, and feeling better, and connecting in with those feelings. And it's the repetition that matters. So these songs are kind of affirmational. They're affirmational songs that are very repetitive throughout it. And what I found has been really remarkable, if I can tell a couple of quick stories.
Absolutely.
One of the stories is that there was a family. So one of the songs is called "I Can Do It," and there was a family, a mother who came to me, and she says, "Do I have a story for you? We've been listening to this song, I Can Do It, for a long time. We listened to it in the car. We listened to it in between activities and different things, and then all of a sudden, I heard my kids saying, 'I can't.'" And so the mother said, "I just decided to start singing the song to her. You can do it. Yes, you can do it. I think you can. I know you can." And it was not, there was no tension around it. It was fun. It was light. It was communication. And there was no threat in there. It wasn't like, you got to do this. It was like, it was just light and fun.
Yeah.
So then she comes to me and she says, 2 weeks later, my kid heard me say, "I can't." And my child started singing to me, "You can do it. Yes, you can do it. I think you can. I know you can." So it was total communication.
Yeah.
Light.
That's funny. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm a little older, so the Gen Xers, and so we were not taught any of this, and as parents we had no tools to then really teach that to our kids. So much of this information, with our technology and the way that we're able to reach out and touch people, like, this information is out there. It really needs to be more broadly accepted. Because wow, this would have been so very helpful when I was young, because
Right.
I was also kind of picked on, but I went into books. So I would go escape into fiction and fantasy and read about the space and all sorts of stuff. So I disappeared into my books, because it also got that voice to stop talking at me, because I could get involved with something else. Because that voice, it did pick up all of those other voices, and it said things worse to me than any of the things that anybody ever said. And
Absolutely.
worse, and it got louder, and it's not true. But it's really hard not to believe yourself, because those voices come out and they start sounding like you. So they might have started sounding like your bully. They might have started sounding like something your parents said, but you didn't have the understanding to understand what it means. And then those words take on your voice and they become you, and then they just eat you from the inside out. And so I went into it through literature, by escaping it, by having so many other things to think about, that it took that voice and it made it less. But I still am working to get rid of some of those voices in there.
Yeah. So you bring up a really good point. There's another story that I'd love to share with you. It's about a friend of mine who was 90 years old. She loved my music. She loved what it was all about and how it was helping. She started getting this out to seniors and to senior centers and all of this. And I asked her one day, I said, do you have something you want to share about it? And she goes, I don't have anything specific. You know how much I love it, but I don't have anything specific. And I said, okay, I'd love to invite you for 2 months to every day. I had a DVD. It was DVD as opposed to an MP4 at the time. So you can see it was a few years ago. And I asked her, watch the DVD every day, even just once, just like get into it and play with it, because the movement,
Right.
I don't know if you are aware of this, but right now I'm helping balance your brain, and you don't have to actually be doing that movement. So that has been incorporated into the whole song and such. So song and dance, right? So I said to her, what if you just, I invite you to do this for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then check back in with me.
Yeah.
At 2 months and 2 days later, I get a text from her. Now remember, she's 90. And I get a text and says, would you please meet me at the rehab? I fell and fractured my hip, and do I have a story for you?
Oh my gosh.
So I go meet her at the rehab. She says, please take out your phone and video this so that you can hear it, and people hear it from the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
And she told me that she had fallen in the middle of the night, and she lived by herself, and she was coming back from the bathroom, whatever, and she had stepped away from the bed, boom. And she said she could feel her hip crack.
Yeah.
And she was in excruciating pain. Her phone was 6.5 feet away, but it felt like 10 miles. And she was done. She says, you know what? I led a really great life. I just saw the kids tonight. I can't, I'm done. I'm going to give up. And then she heard my voice singing in her head. And to the beat of my voice, the rhythm of the music, she was able to move herself an inch. And then she stopped and rested. And then the music came back. Inch by inch by inch. It took her exactly 2 hours, and she made it to that phone. She felt like it was a flow of energy. Like the fog that she'd had before was gone. She knew without a shadow of a doubt she was making it to that phone, and she could hear this song repeating over and over and over again in her head.
Wow.
And then 4 months later, not only was she walking again, she was driving her car again.
Whoa. Because usually the injuries take so much longer to heal, especially in that age group.
4 months.
I believe that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also do the energy work. So when you were doing your little crossy hand thing there, you actually made me really dizzy, because it's okay, because it wasn't an unpleasant thing. It was like I noticed that energy coming in, and just as you said that, is like, oh yeah, I'm totally feeling that. And part of exercising is to like touch opposite knees as you go across, crossing your own power field. And so that's a lot of my world. I go into that kind of a world a lot more than I fit into the
education world.
The education.
Right.
So yeah, as even from a spiritual healer point, the stuff that you're talking about, and even in the resonance of the voice, there's sound healing modalities. Then you add in the positive affirmations, the sound healing, the body movements, the crossing of your arms,
it anchors it all down in, right?
Anchors it all in. And as you're talking about it, it's like, and I'm like ticking off boxes in my head, and it's like, this is awesome. And so I completely understand what you're doing, and it's great for children and for adults.
Lots of times, and when I was in the classroom and the kids would get off, right, we would have an extra vibration in the classroom. It was bouncy as whatever, they couldn't focus or whatever. We would do exactly that, some of the hand crossing and things. And if you were, if you're listening instead of watching the video, you didn't see that, but she was doing a hand cross motion as she was talking with us. And those balancing, like you said, in the classroom, at home, with the music, all of that just really helps settle things when things are off.
Oh yeah, it's very powerful. So I'm wondering if you're curious what song it was she was singing to herself for 2 hours.
I almost expected it to be the song you were already singing. Was it different?
It wasn't. And that I thought it was too. That was exactly what I said to her. I said, "What song was it? Was it I Can Do It?" And she said, "No, it was confidence. It was a song about confidence."
Mhm.
And the other thing she told me, which I thought was amazing, is she said, I mean, obviously singing the song for 2 hours,
Right.
she said she ended up having a newfound relationship with her own confidence. She's 90. She was 90 at the time. And she said, "Oh my goodness, I started treating myself differently. And I didn't allow my kids to treat me in certain ways anymore. I was way more confident in the way that I approached others, and I allowed others to she said it absolutely shifted her whole perception and perspective on her own self-confidence.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, they say a shift in perception is a miracle.
Mhm.
All the stuff was the same. She was there on the floor with a broken hip, but the miracle was that shift of perception within inside of her that changed her life. And
Yeah.
that is the miracle, is that shift in understanding. And it's a beautiful thing when you can be part of that.
Right. And she said while she was going through that whole process, she was not in any pain. When the emergency people eventually came and her kids came to help her out, I mean, she decided not to have the night. She decided her first phone call was not going to be 911, but that's a whole nother story. But
Should have.
no, no, no. She ended up calling her neighbor and said, "My kids are going to come get the ladder. Don't be alarmed. Go back to sleep." But she didn't want to get have the emergency people bust down her two deadbolts, and it would cost her $1,000 for new doors, right? So she was clear, right? She was
Right.
very clear on what was going on, and she said because she was so focused on the words and on her actual action to get where she needed to go, there was no pain. As soon as she could relax and that other people were there to take care of her, it's like she stopped focusing on her own confidence, and boom, the pain came back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Um, so it was very interesting to hear that. And so my feeling once she told me that is, I mean, I knew this was powerful for me.
Right.
Well, wow, like to hear that was like, I mean, that I didn't create this to save her life, but it was really amazing that it did. And what it did was it reinforced to me, imagine if it can help somebody who's 90 in dire need when she needs it to show up. Imagine what that does if we can get that in the hands of kids at a young age so they grow up knowing this whole way of being so that they don't have to go through the huge, ups and downs as much. That their ups and downs are little lower valleys.
Exactly. And they're building those skills to be able to handle when something big happens because
Exactly.
they've practiced it, they've danced it, they've talked with it. Hopefully, I mean, that's the other part of the program that hopefully is that the parents are actually engaging and talking with the kids a lot about what are you learning? What are you feeling? How can that help you in day to day? We just build that layer, like you said, that coaching program that goes on top of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So when all of this kind of started coming through me to help me through some of my own issues, um, as you mentioned in my bio, I was a teacher, so I saw this and I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." And then I was like, and then I put on my curriculum development hat. So I had both hats on, and I was like, "Oh, this is worthwhile. That it's not just for me; it's meant to be for a greater audience." And then I was like, "Oh, let me reverse engineer it and find out if they're really." I mean, it worked for me, and I wasn't really, knowing that this could work for a lot of other people. I reversed engineered it, excuse me, and found out that this really is something that people have been researching for years. And I was like, okay. And so that's when it made me say, okay, I'm going to put this together into a curriculum. And I correlated it to all the national physical education standards. And I also correlated it to all the social emotional learning core competencies.
Exactly. So right there, that what she just said for parents and people who are listening is that if you have a state, if you're a homeschool parent and you have a state that requires specific PE standards and specific social emotional standards, you can use her program to help checks off some of those boxes. So right there's another great connection for our families that are who are listening right now. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a multimedia program. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to read this dry curriculum textbook and blah, blah, blah. It's interactive, it's multimedia. I mean, if that whole interchange between the parent and the child, being able to, common language kind of thing and joke with each other around it, because it's non-confrontational, it's fun, right? And so that's what makes it, because I have a philosophy: make it simple, make it easy, and make it fun. And when you do those three things, magic happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had somebody on our show who talked about laughing yoga.
Mhm.
And
I'm certified. I'm a certified laugher too.
but, also we hear lots of things and we can't necessarily get into all of them, but we did a couple of laughing yoga sessions, and yes, it really changes the energy. It feels ridiculous and silly, but then when you're all done, there is a settled thrum that I notice in my body that is a grounding, settling feeling.
Did you know that even 20 minutes of sustained laughter is equivalent to 2 hours of sleep? The health benefits?
Well, I maybe internally I knew that, because again, the
Really?
picking on thing, if people were laughing, they felt better, and then there was less repercussions back towards me. So I didn't necessarily become like the class clown, but I got, my humor became kind of on point. And
Mm.
so I would say things that were very truthful in a very interesting way, and people would like laugh and go with it, and then later come back and like, wow, he kind of insulted me, didn't he? So that was kind of my thing to kind of get back at people, because also a lot of people wouldn't even know, even weeks later, how badly I was teasing them or insulting them. But it made them laugh, and so it got me
Yeah,
out.
it shifts the energy, certainly. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So if a parent wanted to get started building confidence, can you tell us one or two things that you kind of hit on in your program that really will get them kind of jump started into help building that confidence?
Okay. Well, confidence is not just believing that you can do it. I mean, that is certainly. But one of the things that I do a lot of in the program is getting it into your body.
Okay.
So, so for example, could you show me what confidence looks like in your body right now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see how all of a sudden you guys were both a little slumped, and so was I, and we all three just shot up, right? So
Yes.
that's the first thing. So now show me what not confidence looks like in your body.
Deflated. Yeah.
Right. And your eyes go down, your shoulders go down, right? And if you were talking, what would happen with your voice?
Oh, it would either get lower or kind of muffled. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of infections that'll start leaking through too, so that make you sound less than.
Exactly. And then the words that you use will start coming in and doing that as well, right? So so one of the key things that you can do is you can say, okay, when you start feeling that you're okay, so one of the activities that I have parents and kids, or any teachers and kids, anyone using this program, is to do a little game about saying, okay, show me confidence.
Right.
And then you snap your fingers or clap your hands, and then show me not confident. Confident, not confident. So that you can actually start to feel the difference in your body of when you are and when you aren't. And so I have a kindergarten teacher who's been using this with her classroom for a couple of years now. And she said what's so remarkable is that it's not just singing the lyrics, it's that when her kids now want to come up to the front of the room, and if they're a little shy or a little nervous about coming up, she says she can physically see them go like this.
Okay. Right.
Push their shoulders back. Take their fingers. I know you have listeners, not just people viewing. Take their fingers, push them on their shoulders, and push them back to really sit up straight, and put a smile on their face. Take a deep breath, and then they start answering the question. or presenting or whatnot. And she said she can physically see it. Like they take that extra 2 to 3 seconds or whatever it's going to take just to go and then start talking.
Yeah, the breath work in that is absolutely amazing as well, because I'm a breath work coach as well.
Oh, okay.
There are so many breathing techniques, but just focusing on your breathing, just noticing that you're breathing brings you into the present moment. It brings you into as much of the now as you can handle. Because when you lose it, you lose focus on your breath as well. So if you can focus, so the singing, the laughing, the putting the shoulders, the taking the deep breath, all of that together. And I noticed the NLP, the clapping on the up, but then you just let it down, but you don't clap on the down. So there's extra things that happen on the more positive aspect.
Right.
That has to do with NLP, and there's a concussive property to that settles it into the body. So yeah, it's just there's so many things that
it's all interconnected. It's like
and so from the things that I've been studying, and I know it's like there's so much technique involved in that, and it's so awesome when you can take what you learned empirically, so it's what you've embodied yourself, and then you're able to layer on that this and that and that, and so it validates the truth that you already know, but now you have a way to communicate that truth in a way that other people might understand. So well done.
Thank you. Well, when I was teaching many years ago, and I always taught whole language and whole activity kind of things. I was not as much of the textbook kind of, like, although I did end up becoming an editor at a textbook company. So that there you go. He shifts that a little bit. But what I had a parent come to me and says, my child says that you don't ever do any math in school. And I said,
that's not what you want to say.
Right. But I said, okay, well, all of these math games that we're doing, the kid's not seeing them as math, they're seeing them as games.
Yep.
So when I then showed them, oh, well, we played this game and then we wrote this down and we did this and we did that. And I showed her and she said, oh, of course you're doing math. And she said, but my kid thinks math is a worksheet because that's what my child had done in the previous grade.
So classes just play games, but now you can count, and now you can do division and multiplication, and you can double things and you can triple things, and just that understanding. Then when it comes back time later to get in front of that pen and the paper, then it's like, oh, hey, I do know all of this stuff, and all of the circuits are in there, and then it's the empirical that that you embody the learning. And then once you embody the learning, you go back and you put on top of it this is what you learned, and they're all like, oh yeah, look at that.
You just have to connect the dots later, so they really do know it, right? Yeah,
exactly. Well, you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backwards, and so when they can, and then I'm a big proponent in showing kids what they learned.
Yes.
Right. Saying, you see, well, we did this. And that's why the whole confidence kind of thing is you actually say to them, you show them, well, see, when you're walking around and you're feeling like this, how does that feel in your body? And we go into discussions around that. And then when would you need the confidence song? Like, when is a time that you would want to hear that song? Because one of the last step in the process is all about meditative mantra, which means so we juice up the energy, we dance, we sing, we create all of that fun energy with the music. I mean, we get present, which is part of the meditative the mindful mindset is the first step in the process. Then the second one is the message. You're shifting the message. You're not saying I can't, or you're not saying I feel bad. I'm no good at this, and you're shifting the message to say, I may not be good at it yet.
Yet is one of those amazing words. I can't do it yet. I can't, this isn't going to happen yet.
This is really hard. Well, it may be hard. You haven't learned to do it yet.
Exactly.
Right? So it's that language. So the language is a big message, is a big part. Then we do the music, and I like to shake and stir with the movement. And then the last one is meditative mantra, which means all of that juicy that you've cultivated, and you're bringing it inside, and you teach kids. I have meditations involved in this program as well, and you teach them to bring it inside, and just like your heartbeat, it's always there. So I could be singing the song Confidence in my head right now, and you wouldn't know it's helping me.
Right.
Right. Empirically, people have been doing this for thousands of years in churches. The resonance in churches, the singing together, and then that feeling and the words that they're saying around that celebration that comes back and it settles in. So, even though there's now the science behind it and we're teaching it to kids in a different way, these techniques have been used forever.
Exactly. So I also like to say to parents, and when I introduce this, I say, have you ever gotten a song stuck in your head?
Yes.
Okay. If you have been to Disneyland, there's one song that you're going to get stuck in.
and I bet your listeners and myself already know what that is.
They're probably going through it already.
Exactly.
Go away.
So what if you could get a song stuck in your head that not only helps you, it helps everyone around you.
Right.
And that's what self-talk songs does.
Love it. Love it. Love it. One of the things I would always do with my students as we were wrapping up something, I always try to give them praise, but then I also made sure that they reflected it as well. Cause I would say something like, I'm proud of you, or you did a really good job. And then I would ask them, how do you feel? How do you feel inside? Do you feel confident, or do you feel happy that you were able to do it? I tried to make sure that they internalize that as well, because we know motivation usually comes from the inside. So you want to build that motivation and that intrinsic gratitude on the inside.
And they found out that getting rewarded for completion of things is actually really detrimental to children, because as soon as they stop getting rewards, they stop trying. It might be something that they love to be doing. And he's like, oh, that's great, here's a reward. Oh, that's great, here's a reward. As soon as they stop getting that reward for what they were enjoying to do in the first place, then they stop liking it so much. So rewarding it. So making sure that it's the effort that they're being rewarded for, not the end result. And then the end result becomes that they feel better about themselves, instead of feeling good that person liked this thing that I did. It's like, I like
that is so important. Totally, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been such an awesome conversation. And what I hope you understand, parents and listeners, as you started hearing this, is that this was Ruth's passion project. This is what she really felt like she needed to do and bring to the world. She brought all of her resources together. But not only is she there to help the kiddos with her passion project of songs, guess what? She also helps the adults in a little bit of coaching and things like that. So Ruth, I want to take just a few minutes and have you share a little bit about that too. How do you help the parents? Maybe our parents are the ones who are needing help with this as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
the parents do need help with this as
probably.
well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to bridge the gap, bridge the conversation to shifting it. And I've had, many parents that I've talked to over the years, and one parent especially says to me, why is it when I share these songs with my kids and I'm watching my kids singing the songs, why am I crying? Why am I getting emotional? And I asked, we talked about that a little bit more. And she says, well, I don't know that it's sweet. And what I said, and then anyway, we ended up unhooking and realizing and looking under the surface. These were things that she needed to hear. Her inner child needed to hear and feel better about herself. And so this was an opportunity to heal some of those things from within, and be able to connect things to feel better. You can see it working for the kids, and then your inner kid goes, oh, what about me? What about the fact, what about the times that happened that this didn't kind of work for me? And then it's the ability for that to be able to heal as well.
Or I wish my parents had said
Yes, exactly. Because one of the lyrics in one of my songs, it's called Just the Way You Are. I love you just the way you are. And one of the lyrics says, these are words I always wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that was something for me that I didn't necessarily feel like I didn't hear, I love you just the way you are.
Yeah, I say this is kind of like a secret to our school. It's like we pretend that we're teaching the parents or the kids, but really what we're doing is we're helping the parents, because as the children start to learn to love to learn,
yes,
then the parents are going to get swept up in that and bring the family together. And so there's so much more of what we do. It's pointed at the kids, but it's so very much helpful for the parents as well, because
whole
as
family.
it just brings everything together.
Well, right. And so that's why in a lot of respects, doing it in a homeschool environment, you are getting it right there, and it can be reinforced. When you have the school thing, the parents don't necessarily know what's going on at school, so they can't reinforce it. And now this is the way for it to be reinforced and for it to be connected.
And this is a really great reason to actually get your kids out of school, because there aren't a lot of teachers that are aware like this, that actually know how to do this. And some of the ones that do aren't necessarily even allowed to practice it anymore. So it's, I'm outside of the box, because I believe our school system is under attack. I believe in the dumbing down of America. And there's a lot of things right now that are going on, especially in our school system, that don't necessarily need to be there. And to be able to keep the family together, your best bet is to get your kids out of the public education system.
And this can help support, and the programs that you guys are doing are amazing as well. And so anything I can do to support is where I come in to say, that. So then we
shifted.
So I am also known as the Get It Done coach. So I help you take any task, make it bite-sized so it's chewable and doable, and you really can get it done. So it's a self-talk, it's a reframing as well, and the words that you use for yourself and how you present the things that you have to do can help dissipate that overwhelm so that you really can get it done.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly. There's quite a few people, especially like entrepreneurs, and that's one of our target audiences, entrepreneurs. Right. Things seem so overwhelming, things seem so big, so narrowing it down, making it chewable and doable and chewable.
Yeah, no, you got it. Yeah, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs on them creating their programs, and because of all of my different backgrounds and such, I also am a graphic and web designer, so I have done all of that kind of stuff. So I know all of the pieces that entrepreneurs need, and I'm there as a strategy partner to help you, break it down so it can get done.
You've been a very, very busy lady.
Yes.
You're so glad that you.
Yeah, your coaching is very, very practical. Mine goes more towards the psycho-spiritual and into the backgrounds and into the whys and into the where I get stuck, and I break those little clogs loose down deeper underneath all of that. So I would say that it's just as important, but it's way less practical.
Well, I mean, I find a lot of clients to me and they go, well, how am I going to do this? And I've got how is it going to happen? And by the time they walk out of a session with me, or end a session with me, because we're doing it on a computer mostly, end a session with me, they go from how to wow, it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yep, exactly. Wow. Well, we have had so much fun talking with you about all these different things. Was there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to get to?
I think we covered it. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. Although there's one other quick little story, if I may, because you were talking about something about talking about the child not feeling being able to finally express themselves. And there was a mom who told me that her daughter came home and said, there was a boy who called me ugly in school today. And she told her mom, and she said, and Mom, I paid no mind to it. I mean, that was the language that they use. And she says, oh, and she says, well, because you tell me I'm beautiful all the time. So that boy didn't know what he was talking about. And so the mom says to her, well, you realize, honey, that what you just said, that was your own confidence, that you didn't have to listen to what he said. And when she heard that, because I don't know that the mom knew this, she busted out singing, I am confident. Because the mom didn't know the song. And so now she taught her the song. But she goes, I didn't know that was the word of why I did what I did and whatnot. So it's just kind of the whole full circle that now the child is teaching the mom and connecting around the whole thing.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So we always ask our guests to make sure that they say out loud. Everything will be in the show notes, but say out loud what's the best way to get a hold of you and the name of your program one more time. And then
and also you have a free gift for our listeners.
Yes,
if you could describe or tell us what the free gift is, and we
Sure.
will in the show notes.
Sure. So the free gift is actually a few sample coloring pages, confident coloring pages, because I have a book up on Amazon called Empowering Coloring Book for Coloring and Activity Book for Kids, ages 1 to 101. So
awesome.
It fills the gap there. So for creatively, exploring these great lyrics, and the lyrics are the words on the coloring pages are actually lyrics to my songs.
Okay.
And so how to get in touch with me is Ruth at selftalksongs.com. That's self-talk songs.com. And yeah, that's the way to. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, I think so. We have the name of the program, Self-Talk Songs. We have your contact information, and we have the free gift. And this has been amazing. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
And again, another technique is writing stuff down, coloring, putting something into physicality. And so if you're writing the words of confident and you're coloring them in, then the act of creating that in physical form is another great mental technique that builds resiliency, that opens up the neuroplasticity and builds new pathways. So even in the free gift, there's more than meets the eye. So that's beautiful. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Reinforce.
Exactly. All right, audience. Thank you so much for being with us today on Bringing Education Home. We've enjoyed our conversation with Ruth. We've talked about how to build confident kids, help families grow, and make sure you go back and find those gold nuggets, implement them in your family so we have those healthy, happy, and successful kids.
And leave a comment about what you found most important today.
Yes. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.